So on a topic that I thought of that is actually quite important is this, that the beginnings of the concept of ascension that some of the great mystics were endeavoring to decode. Uh, Even in Kriya Yoga, this is known because in the book Paramahansa, the autobiography of a yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda, the autobiography of a yogi. What they said was that there was a master, I believe his name was Sri Yukatswar, that deceased and went on to a higher level like ascension, where he was glowing at a very high vibration. Now, uh, it is my experience from ascension that these guys were beginning to see this, something that happens in adept people who decease and very advanced people, is that they seem to take a large amount of brain mass with them, and after they find their bodies, their heads are shriveled and they look smaller. Now, what that means is that the spirit is actually taking some brain mass, curling it up, and transmuting it through into hyperspace. So think about that. They're actually taking live brain mass, taking it with them to a higher hyperspace in death, curling it up, and it is invisible, isn't it? You don't see them. You don't see neurons flying around through the air. So I believe that Sri Yukteswar may have had such an experience. He may have, in fact, taken quite a bit of brain mass with him, loaded up, and realized, oh my God, this is it. In life, they have said it's possible to ascend the whole garment, to turn it into high vibratory light. Why, I have this experience through taking up some of my brain mass into the netherworld, into death, blowing it up, and now here I am. And to impart this to people after death is very, very difficult. You leave clues and mysteries, and they try to decode all of this, you see. So that was something I found interesting in that book. It's a very good book. And Kriya Yoga, by the way, back then was not New Age or religion. It was the science of the light and sound of uh, the spirit, understanding what the spirit is as the God, the divine essence. So that came to America in the 50s. So it is a group of people who meditate and have practices to access the light and sound of the divine inside. So it's earlier techniques that are not dissimilar to energy scientific types of uh, things that we do in the matrix, only we are, you know, uh, almost 70 years later, and we have a little bit more advanced techniques. So that does the same thing. So I took the whole garment up, the entire thing, loaded many, many times. And, then with all these hookups to the ships, kind of ground to a little bit more. Although people still tried to fly me, and it's uneven flight because uh, if the body is engaged in different areas of the spine or brain, you can't really fly it. You have to have all of that unhooked, and then you glow and you're gone. And so it's kind of unfortunate. But I'm finding it's good because I'm doing other work to further the work on Earth. So now, in terms of NDEs, we'd like to leave as much brain mass in the body as possible for those who have had those, because you have to come back to the body. I also don't want to leave it in other people. Uh, you know, there's some debate about that, but you need to keep it for yourself to come back to. It's not the same as a final deceased spirit who has a body that they are not going to come back to. You see? That is when they can take more brain mass with them. So don't get confused. And it's food for thought, even for science, because if they have noticed that when they pick up cadavers or dead bodies, the brain is shrunken and appears as if there is some brain mass missing, but there is no visible trauma from any kind of assault or anything. That is, in fact, what is happening is that the spirit is taking brain mass with it, transmuting it, ascending it, really. And then, now remember this, all right? This is where the Marilyn Monroe thing in reincarnation might be provable one day, because the same spirit, no, it doesn't dump it. The same spirit comes into a new fetus, and Well, there's several things that happen. Sometimes it roves parents, let them know who it is. Sometimes they don't, but they weave the new fetus, you see? And so what they have is an alchemical, magical, curled up brain mass. And don't forget, there's a quickening and a glowing inside that fetus, and like a spark. So some of the genetic imprint from the previous life, how do you know it is not woven into the new brain, changed genetically to the new blood code, and is actually there? What else? I mean, they don't just dump it into a dog, okay? They weave it into the new baby. And so that's why many people's past lives, they have a resemblance somewhere in the brain. And there's tons of it in the cerebellum, tons. It's almost the whole person from the past life. And the cortex, different weaving, and then the spine and brain, rest of rest of it. Sometimes, I mean, it has a genetic imprint from the parents as well, but it certainly has some of the past life. So, science, I would consider looking at ways of proving that, because you might be able to add to your medical books one day proof about reincarnation, about the potential for ascension, that your doctors and scientists can finally talk about and have something to present to the public as well. So, my work is always available to you to quote or to reference and cite as well. And I wish you luck in your research studies also.